Welcome to the Roaming Yeti podcast, where we share stories and tips to inspire you to roam your neighborhood and the world. I'm your host and head Yeti, Beth Scalacci. Today, I have a fun one. I speak with Leroy Kelly about roller coasters and theme parks. Leroy has visited over 44 theme parks and is what I would call a roller coaster aficionado. He even gives me some tips on where to sit to help my motion sickness. You ready? Let's roam! Welcome back, everyone, to the Roaming Yeti podcast. Today, I'm really looking forward to geeking out with Leroy Kelly about amusement parks and theme parks. He is a roller coaster rider, and if you know me, I am not much of one. I try, but motion sickness gets the best of me, but I do appreciate them, and everyone else in my family enjoys them as well. So I'm really happy to introduce Leroy. And how are you doing, Leroy? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. I cannot complain. Cold weather, so you're thinking about those nice Florida warm vibes where there are things that are open this time of year.
Right. The idea of being outside on a ride right now up here in the north, no, thank you.
No, exactly. Frostbitten, yeah.
So you've visited a lot of amusement parks. Like, how many total is it?
Well, I had to do the math, and then I shocked myself because I have been to like 44 different parks. And this is like everything from like Six Flags, the Cedar Fair parks to Disney Universal. And I cannot speak to the power of the seasons pass because for many years I had to travel for work. So having like a El Cheapo Six Flags seasons pass would get me into every Six Flags park in the U.S.
Nice.
So when I travel for work, I would make sure that I had some quality downtime to get into one of the local parks there. So it was cool, yeah. But the season pass can be a great deal for sure.
I didn't realize the season pass would be for all. They had one that hit all the parks. Do they still
Yeah,
do that?
so
Do you know?
they still do that, but now they group them in different levels where you might have like silver, gold, platinum, and only the platinum one gets you into all the parks,
Okay.
So they do tier it now. But yeah, you can, if you want to spend the money, you definitely can get into all the parks. Yeah, for sure.
That sounds like a nice year challenge or something that, take a year off and see how many you can hit.
There you go. Well, yeah, follow some people like on Twitter and whatnot there are definitely people that are blogging, if you will,
right.
And they are traveling the planet. So a few people can do that, but most people have to work for a living. So
the rest of us
yeah, there you go.
Can watch them on YouTube videos. So
there you go. It's like, hey, it works. You get that kind of like third party kind of like vibe. It's like, oh yeah,
exactly. So what is it? So 44 is a lot of parks. So what is it about amusement theme parks that brings you in constantly and you're always checking out new ones?
Well, it's interesting because as kids, my parents would always take us to our local park and we would have, a great time. They let us kind of roam in a safe environment where they can keep an eye on us. And for like maybe 20 years after, graduating from school, I had never set foot in an amusement park. And then I got introduced to a club called ACE, which is American Coaster Enthusiasts.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, this is kind of cool. And they have events at different parks where, they call it ERT, but it's like extended ride time. And basically it's like either like an hour before or an hour after the park closes, there's quality time where it's just the club and roller coasters. So that's how I kind of got reintroduced back into amusement parks. And like over that 20-year period, the technology's changed. Now we're going upside down. In other ways that you can't count, we're spinning in circles. So part of that was just like, the technology's changed, the quality's gotten better. Then part of people sort of like counting the coasters they've ridden, kind of brought me back into it. It was just fun. It's an easy day out. You don't have to think. You just go and have fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a true, like, sort of, it's one of the places I think you can go and truly escape reality for the period of time you're in there.
Exactly. Totally. Yes.
So what is your favorite park?
Strangely enough, and you'll laugh at this because for many years I was not a Disney fan. I was Universal,
Hmm.
thinking about the theme parks like Universal Disney. I was the Universal guy. And I bought a season's pass about a year and a half ago, and Epcot became my favorite park. And it doesn't have really, well, it has one or two small scale coasters now, but it's a park where you can just go, as we were talking earlier, and have a great day.
Right.
You can sample different foods, get, well, drinks if you want to. It's a low key park where you're just not, you're not pushed to do anything, but they do have rides there as well and things to keep you excited. And it's going through a lot of changes now since when I was a kid. And I have to laugh because when we were a kid, it was our first big trip. We went to Florida and we hit Epcot and they took a picture of us on one of the rides. And it was like, it was raining. We had on our rain jackets. And at this point, we were like in this one car, all four of us, like pushed to the sides, like we hated each other. It's just like we were just having the worst time of our lives. But I look back on it now from like at that photo to now, I was like, yeah, things have changed a lot,
Yeah.
but it's like, I now enjoy Epcot, and I just really, it's just relaxing.
Yeah.
It's a relaxing day.
Epcot's it's always been our family sort of unwind from the day park. Like we usually, now that park hopping's back again,
Mm-hmm.
like park hop over and sort of, because it's darker, it's not as much overload in the
Mm-hmm.
evening. Like it's definitely the calmer of the most of the
Oh,
parks.
exactly. Well, and you can actually feel that for like Magic Kingdom. A lot of youngsters. Everybody wants to go see Mickey and Minnie, and it
Hmm.
could be a very busy day.
Yeah.
And Epcot, you can go and have a nice, great dinner, you know, and just relax and end the day that way. It's cool.
Yeah. And are there any other, so that's sort of a large scale park. Is there like
Mhm.
a,
Yeah,
sort of the next step down? I hate saying that because they're not a lesser park size wise, I guess.
yeah. Well, yeah, size wise, because you have your more local parks. So,
Hmm.
being in the Maryland, Virginia, DC area, Busch Gardens is one of my favorite parks.
Hmm.
Because it's sort of like you can still go have a great day. I can get my thrill from my roller coasters first thing in the morning, and just and turn it into a good day. But yeah, so I'm a Busch Gardens fan. I'm a SeaWorld fan as well too. Um, and quite honestly, if it has a roller coaster, I'm going to try it out at one point in time. It may be one and done, but it's like, okay, we did that. We don't need to do it again. But yeah, but I tend to like the medium-sized parks because you can get in very easily, have a good time, and just have the day be yours.
Right. Yeah, it's not as, it's a one day sort of commitment. It's not
Yes,
a huge.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right. I know you think this is a controversial topic, but it's actually not.
Uh-huh.
Not for me. So do you have a least favorite park?
Yeah, yeah, sadly I do. Although I've gotten a better appreciation for it. Magic Kingdom. It's um and it has nothing to do with the park actually. It's just sometimes how it can just be very busy.
Yes.
And I tend to attract other families' children where I can be standing in line and I'll never forget it was a hot Orlando day.
Mhm.
And everybody's just, they're just tired. They've been sweating. Families are cranky because much like when I was a teenager, we're all sitting
Mhm.
in different sides of the car because we now hate each
Right.
other. And I'll never forget, I looked down. Oh, and I didn't even look down. I just felt two little arms wrap around my legs.
Oh
And I'm
no.
like, okay, what is this? And I look down and it's this little boy who was just so tired. He
Oh.
just stood up and grabbed my legs, and we're looking at each other. I'm like, not the papa, I'm not sure who you are. And you could just tell that they had a long day. And and these two little old ladies that are standing next to me, they're just laughing at this because it's like, look at him, he has no idea to do it, but he has a kid now. It's like, oh yeah. And sometimes that's where it gets where you can see people just a little tired. And this happens also like at just normal local theme parks too,
Yeah.
where people are going through a long day and they just, they're just tired.
Yeah.
So I see that at Magic Kingdom a lot, and that's why I kind of like Epcot because it's just a little more. flowing and chill, if you will.
Yes, Magic Kingdom. There is not a trip to Disney where at some point in time in Magic Kingdom I did not declare we're never coming back here. Like, it's
uh,
it's just crowded, and we used to spend it used to be a 2-day park
mm-hmm,
for us because Julia was little
uh-huh.
and we had to hit a lot more rides. It's now become like a half-day park for us.
Okay, all right, uh-huh.
So I totally agree with you. Disneyland is the OG.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather be there than
Okay.
Magic Kingdom. Um, but yeah, so that it's not when people are like, "Oh, I don't like Magic Kingdom." I'm like, "You have to go. You have to see the castle."
Oh yeah.
I cry every time I see the castle.
Uh-huh.
Um, like it's so stupid, but I
It's
do.
it's like a love-hate relationship where it's
Right.
like the stuff inside the park is incredible and you have to go and you have to do it at least once in your life, you know.
Yes.
And I can't wait till Tron opens, because that's going to be another fabulous thing for me as well, you know, at least from the coaster realm of life.
Right.
And I even like, oh, what's the ride where you go? Oh, that's at a different park. Sorry, my bad. It all starts blurring together a while after a while. But yeah, but it's like there's just fabulous things to do in there, and it's still a great park.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, you know, I just strategically plan it where I get in, I have my list of things to do. And then what is the ride? It's the you ride it, it goes through like Space Mountain, but it's just like you're just cruising on a
Oh,
track.
no, not Carousel Progress. I can't believe I just said that. The
Yeah.
People Mover.
Oh yeah, I love that. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. You know, you can put me on something that goes 90 miles an hour, but on the other hand, I love the people mover and I can't explain
The
it.
the People Mover will always stop too. Like it breaks down all the time.
uh,
But I still love it. And as
uh,
long as I don't get stuck in the super dark area where you can't see anything,
oh, there you go.
I'm
Uh-huh.
good. But yeah, and the addition of Tron,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna make Magic Kingdom even more interesting because
Yes.
that's a that's quite a ride. We rode it in Shanghai, and that was
Mm-hmm.
probably one of the last roller coasters I've been on.
Uh-huh.
I was nauseous for a good 30 minutes after.
Okay.
So um it was just a really it's a very different,
Mm-hmm.
you don't sit up. So for
Right.
me,
Uh-huh.
it was the first time bending over kind of situation riding. So yeah, didn't do it didn't do my motion sickness
Oh
great.
no,
But I
there.
wanted to try because I'm like, I'll
Oh,
never,
well,
I may never
that's
ride
cool.
this again because they
But,
hadn't announced it.
okay.
Um and
No, I have one of my friends, she's not a roller coaster friend, or fan, if you will, but she lives down there, so it's a great excuse to go to visit Ilion in Orlando, but also see the parks. And I'll never forget when Hulk was new in Universal, we got her on that. We'll just say at the end, her hands were just like gripping the hand, you know, the safety harness so hard. It was just like, okay, we're done. She's like, I hate you. I'm like, we love you still. Thanks for trying it, you know. So yeah, it's
and
always fun.
I'm always afraid I'd sort of look like the Hulk after I rode that.
A little,
Like little green, little pad. So that brings me to like do you have a favorite coaster style or a favorite coaster? You've been on a lot, so
oh yeah. Well, you know, one of my favorites, it's still to this day, it's like they call it an inverted coaster, but
okay.
it's like one of those ones where you're sitting like ski seats or whatnot underneath the track and your
Okay.
feet kind of dangle. And it's just a totally different sensation for me. And I still love that style. You know, it's been around for maybe 20 plus years. Um, but when done right, it gives you a lot of forces, not a lot of airtime sometimes, but you know, you get a lot of different sensations in the body that you normally wouldn't from like an old wooden roller coaster or whatnot. So
Hmm.
yeah, I tend to like an inverted coaster a lot. But now you have a lot of new ones that are coming out from different manufacturers that give you a lot of out of the seat airtime, which is another, you know, coaster fan kind of thing where it's like,
Right.
okay, yes, I'm out of my seat, you know. And so you know, there's a manufacturer called RMC now
Okay.
that's, you know, and and their claim to fame is they do things a little awkward where you enter a turn, you think you're going to angle one way, but you angle the opposite. It doesn't
Oh,
mentally, it doesn't seem right to you, and actually, it probably isn't.
right.
But you know, but they're famous for a lot of what they call ejector airtime, where you're basically thrown out of seat. You're not floating. You're
Right.
pushed out of your seat up into the harness, and a lot of people love that, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It can be a little stressful at times, but it's fun.
Yeah, I I like can feel my palms sweating just you describing that. I'm like, oh boy.
It's like she passed out in minute 3. What are we gonna do?
Right. I know. Yeah, I mean, even Slinky Dog did it to me last time. It was embarrassing.
Oh, but okay, Slinky Dog, underrated. Okay, and this is another one where it's just sort of like, okay, I ridden 305, like speed coasters, intense, but Slinky Dog is the opposite, where it's just fun. At least for me, I look at it. You got a dog on the front of the train. There's a little, a tail that wags back and forth on the back of the train. It's just sort of like it's ridiculously fun.
Right. And it looks you watch it, you're like, oh, that doesn't look bad. But there's a few little bumps
Oh, no,
and
there
they're
really
just
is.
small bumps.
Uh-huh.
But man, your stomach just like goes and you're like, oh, here I go again.
There you go.
It's so bad. Um, so what other styles beyond coasters? Are there other styles of rides you like to go on or
Well, typically, yeah, I will start my day. I will say that, yeah, my focus typically is on the thrill ride side.
Mhm.
So, I'll do my roller coasters. I like drop towers. I don't know if you've ever
Okay.
been to Busch Gardens in Tampa.
Hmm.
They have one called Falcon's Fury. And it's like you're in seats that raise up to the top of a tower. And then in most drop rides, you just drop down and then you stop at the bottom. Well, in Falcon's Fury, they twisted where they rotate the seats 90 degrees. So now you're facing the ground as you're dropping to it.
Oh.
Yeah, I see your face. It's like, but it's incredible. It's just like, oh yes. It definitely pushes the limits there. But I love that stuff. There's some things I won't do. Like you sometimes you'll see like the what is it? You'll get in a little harness, then they'll pull you back with a rope, and someone
Okay.
pulls, just dropping, you swing back and forth. That has always been like one of those. I'm not so sure about that harness thing,
Right.
pulling the rope, it's just so yeah. But yeah, put me in anything else, and I'm pretty good.
Man, I am definitely more of the I, I'm like Jungle Cruise,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Spaceship Earth, I'm the slow mover
Oh, oh
kind
no,
of
don't get me
rider.
wrong. I love some Spaceship Earth too, and I don't get why. but it's just, but I think maybe it's like, Florida. It's August. It's 90 degrees.
Trip.
It's like 100% humidity. It's a great escape, but it's also another relaxing kind of thing where you can just sit back, you know, and and just enjoy it.
I think the thing I like about Spaceship Earth is you can just say the name and you can instantly smell parts of the park, parts of the ride. Because and not because there's a bad smell, but because the what is it, the Rome is burning part, or it's just like
Mhm.
that fire part, and it just
Oh yeah.
always it's like people
Mhm.
just need to mention it, and it's like, oh yeah. And then they talked about changing it.
Right, which they didn't do yet.
Yeah, they haven't done, and I'm really conflicted about that. Like
But
I
that one,
love that ride.
it is good.
It's not a great ride. Like it's not it's but it's just I think it was
It's
just
like a time capsule in a way.
right.
Some of the things that were done when it was cutting edge was just like, wow. And now sometimes you might say, oh, it's a little hokey, but it's just sort of like, yeah, it's still interesting though. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll lose part of that charm. And there's always a line for it too.
I know. There's there's always a line. Yeah, I mean it and then it's fun because oh God, I forget where he is. I there's they used an old John Wayne animatronic is
Uh-huh.
somewhere on that ride.
Oh
Um
wow.
oh, my daughter's gonna kill me for not remembering that. But they reuse some of those figures and there's one and you go by and you're like, wait a minute, that looks familiar.
Mhm.
So so it's there's so much change in Epcot. I'm sort of hoping that one stays the stays the same for a little
Oh yeah,
bit longer.
that's
Um,
true.
they already got everyone mad changing Maelstrom to Frozen, but
Okay. So, side note, because I also love the Disney had the races and whatnot.
mhm.
And you were talking. I remember back when you mentioned the castle, because that's one of the incredible things to see during one of those Disney races is just running through the park when no one else is in there, and just the castle all lit up is magical. But when they changed it over to Frozen, and Frozen was first out, I think it was like either 5 or 10K, and we were running through Epcot, and that's all they played from the beginning of the park to the end.
Oh
And it was just one of those
no.
things like, and my friend Elia, the one that she just loves roller coasters as well, she can tell you every lyric in Frozen. But by the end of that park, when we got out for the 5K, I was like, no more Frozen. I was like, I love Frozen. Um, Definitely, but still love the ride though. It's still a good ride.
It's still a good ride. Definitely a good ride. I do love the Ratatouille ride as well.
Which is cool. They did a
Yeah,
good job.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the track list for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so being to so many parks, do you have like a list of ones you haven't hit that you want to hit, sort of like bucket list, theme park list?
Yeah, well, I haven't done a lot of parks internationally.
Hmm.
So, I mean, even thinking like UK, there's a park called Alton Towers that has a lot of great, like from a coastal standpoint, fans. But I wouldn't mind even like doing like the Universal or Disney parks as well to see what flavors they offer as well internationally. And that's just one thing, ironically, I have not done.
Hmm.
And I was so upset because I've had two. Remember, what was the movie? Oh gosh, Family Travels, Wally World. I've had
Oh.
two Wally World experiences, and one was
Uh-oh.
when I went to Denmark, and they have a wonderful old time amusement park right in the middle of the city. And I was like literally staying 3 blocks from it,
Hmm.
but it was literally closed like 3 weeks during the fall while they're prepping for the winter season. And I'm like, no, this is like Wally World. I showed up at the park and it's closed.
They closed the whole park?
Yeah, the whole park. And the other time was Six Flags. I went out to California and I went to Magic Mountain because I had some extra time on the weekend. And I drive up there and I'm like, wow, there are no lines to get through the gate. And there were a few other cars with me. And as we got closer to where the cars would drive through and pay, we all kind of realized the park was closed.
Oh,
It was just like, so we're all doing U-turns, but it's just like, oh no, it does happen, parks do close and you just can't randomly show up at one.
that's
But,
too funny. Like you think about that movie, it's like, oh, that could never happen. Nope,
oh
it does.
yeah. And there was no moose out front telling you that it was closed either.
Well,
Go.
that's the biggest disappointment. You feel like someone should be. Well,
Seriously.
I'm glad you didn't like kidnap a security guard or anything like
Oh, no,
that.
seriously. That would, yes. Wally World come to life. Yes.
Yeah.
But they would cancel my Six Flags seasons pass immediately.
Yeah, I think the one place I definitely want to go to Japan. There's so many cool and beautiful looking parks there.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited we're getting Nintendo World in Universal Hollywood's. I think that's opening in February.
Yeah, it looks like it's like relatively soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
So
that'll be definitely be cool too. Yeah.
yeah. I'm a big theme. I like rides, but I think I get more into the theming of things. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just
Well,
which is
it is amazing what they go through. I mean, it's like we have this thing at work, storytelling.
right.
Disney does that well, and Universal's kind of like catching up to the Disney level. And it's just amazing where even when they open up like Islands of Adventure in Florida, there's a kids area that just has all strange, not rectangular buildings, but it all has all like they've carved out these shapes into the buildings. And it's just like they spent so much time doing that. It's just amazing that the thought and the time that goes into like the storytelling and the theming,
Yeah.
which really sets them apart. but
Yeah.
it's incredible. I don't know if I had the patience to do it. No, I just wound up with here's a rectangular building just like everything else.
Yeah, people put a lot of I think that's why Animal Kingdom is for me, Animal Kingdom went from a half day park to now a full day park.
Yes.
And the more I learned about the history and the theming and the why they did what they did, it gets really and interesting. And because of the Everest ride there that John and Julia love to ride so much, I've spent a lot of time walking the Asia area and noticing all the details. So
Well,
that definitely is fun
because
to experience too.
that used to be the Everest Park for me, so I would just go
Right.
for Everest. Okay. Then I'd be done by noon, and I can go to a park hop to another one.
Right.
But as I've gotten wiser, and because of the season pass that I had, I said, you know what, I need to learn more about the park because there were areas of the park I had not been to. I'll be quite honest. You get to the tree, you turn left to Everest.
Right.
And then I started figuring it was just like, oh yeah, there's a lot more in that park that I have never experienced. And the details and whatnot, it's just great.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's definitely a fun place. Um so all these parks they all have food that I love. Like is there a go-to food when you're in any of the parks?
Well, I have, yeah. I have to admit that my doctor already knows. It's like, yeah, um, I'm a sucker for funnel cakes. It must be the powdered sugar stuff on top, or it's just like I can't stop. But yeah, funnel cakes. What is it? The candy apples.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh those are rough on my teeth as I get older here. But yeah, give me a good funnel cake and I'll be happy. I'll have powdered sugar all over the front of me, trying to clean myself off later. But yeah, funnel cakes, yeah. But it's amazing too how over the years the parks have adapted to where you can actually find salads in some of them
Yeah.
where it's healthy, but no, I really want the funnel cake.
It's just balance.
Yeah,
Plus then the roller coasters then blow the powdered sugar off of you. So that's
well, I have used rides to dry off in the past, so I'm sure that'll be a good test in the future. It's like, yeah, funnel cake sugar dispersed.
yeah, I'm a churro person, but
Uh-huh.
Disneyland more so than Disney World,
Uh-huh.
and then I'll try them other places as well.
Uh-huh.
Disneyland churros hit different than Disney World
Really?
churros.
I
Churros.
wonder if it's like a local thing where maybe, they just tweak the recipe a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that or they just sell more
Uh-huh.
they rotate through. I don't know. It's
Uh-huh.
it's a it's a really interesting. I did it for science.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there you go. Science. I love it. Yeah. Because you would think that being it's a Disney experience on both coasts that they'd really be identical. Yeah, all right.
I don't know. It's one of those things I cannot explain, but
Well, because they have cinnamon on them, right?
hmm
Another sugary kind of thing.
yep. Yeah, cinnamon
Uh-huh.
sugar on the
Yeah.
outside. So, yeah. They make good breakfast snacks whenever.
There you go.
Do you have a favorite kind of souvenir? Like, do you go into parks? Like, do you have a souvenir that you pick up, or or you collect from these parks?
So there are a couple of things that I always would typically come out. I'm a hat person, so I
Okay.
love hats. But one of the things that I loved about Universal, and they closed it recently, is they had like a prop store
hmm
where like things from like even like park events to um things that actually been on rides,
Oh,
they would actually resell. And recently, they actually reopened the park, the prop store for like a couple weeks. I was like, I have to go to Florida. And then I kind of said, you know what? No, you really don't need to. But it's just cool. It's like a big thing to bring home because what I brought home in here, I have things from like Six Flags where they rebranded a ride and they took like the signage off of it, and I have like a roller coaster sign from one of the Six
oh,
Flags
cool.
park, and I've gotten other things from props from the parks too. So I like that stuff because it's a unique kind
hmm
of thing. And I remember when they were redoing the Terminator, and now I just kicked myself for it. There was like one of the props that they had. which was like one of the Terminator signs. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be so cool to get. And then I said, you know what? No, I have to leave for the airport because I'm squeezing this trip in. And it's like I just walked away from it. Then I got home. I was like, darn, I should have got that prop. I don't know. But yeah, but I love this stuff because it's kind of unique. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So I didn't give you this question ahead of time, but I just thought about it.
Mhm.
Where do you come down on the 3D simulator rides? Because being a Universal fan, I'm just curious.
Yeah, because you either find people that complain about, we'll say, screens.
Right.
But no, actually, it's a good experience. It's totally different. You can't go in expecting, like my background, roller coaster fan. It's going to be a different experience. So yeah, I do enjoy them. I definitely I like that movement of being in the air on a coaster, the different sensations. But like what they've done with like Harry Potter, or even what was the mouse the Ratatouille ride?
Yes.
They've done a really great job of integrating the screens and the experience, so you actually feel like you're part of it. So when done well, that can be great. The one thing is kind of screen related. They were doing like virtual reality for a while. So like a lot of the roller coasters that had been around for a while, it's like, how can we kind of reinvent this ride? So they were winding up putting goggles on your head and showing you a projection of some like animated thing that would go with the movements of the ride. And it just never seemed to work for me. Well, one, it was right before COVID. So it's like, oh yeah, let me take this device that may or may not have been clean and put on my face, And it just also seemed to slow down the process because now everybody had to get the devices mounted on their head, and adjusted so it was right. And we see that where those have been implemented, they have quietly gone away to a large degree. But like the full scale immersion thing, Star Wars is a great example. Perfect job with what Disney's done with the screens there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, there's some that I like and some that Star Tours, I'm like, take it or leave it. But it's funny, they use their same ride system in Hong Kong, but it's an Iron Man ride.
Oh wow, okay.
So it was interesting just to be on that same ride vehicle, but have a different experience.
And it was a better experience.
Yeah, because it was a little smoother.
Okay.
I think the screen was a little smoother for me.
Okay.
So I didn't get as shaken up.
Yeah, shaken but stirred.
It just depends where I sit in the simulator of how I do.
No, it's true with all rides too.
Yeah.
But remember, Star Tours gave us Star Wars.
Yes.
So, Star Tours back in his day was the thing, and technology's evolved. And now we have Star Wars, which is just like, a whole different experience at a whole nother level. But I do find there are places on rides where you sit makes a difference. Your roller coaster thing, for you, middle of the train.
Okay.
You average out the forces. If you sit in the very front or the very back, you're going to get extreme forces, or like the size. Some trains are like wider where you have 4 across or maybe even 10 people across on some of them. When you sit on those outside edges, more extreme forces. Okay. Middle of the road, middle of the train. You get the average ride, literally an average of all the forces.
No one else wants to sit there. I'll be like, I'll sit there.
Exactly. Well, there's Hershey has a ride called Sky Rush. It's like a 4 across ride, and I will ride the ride once when I go to the park. But now I find I have to sit in the middle seat because just the forces on the outside when you're switching between the turns, they're just so dramatic. And I feel like I call it my ragdoll ride, where I'm just being tossed around, and at the end, it's just like, okay, it's done. But if I sit in the middle seat, I have a much better experience. So yeah, try it. It may work.
I'll have to try that. Are you a front, back? Like, do you have a place that
I'm
you like
a back row person.
You're a back row person.
I'll wait for it. I don't need to see where I'm going. So, that takes up the front row person. But I like the forces in the back row. I like being pulled over a hill. A lot of times in the front, you're being more pushed into things, whereas because where the train's accelerating, you're literally at different points. But but back gives you that more pull sensation where you're going over the top of a hill and now you're just being pulled over the top of it. I kind of like it, you know. But
That's
to each their own.
very cool. Well, these were great. So now I have 5 questions that I did not send you ahead of time.
Okay. Oh
Um,
dear.
so I ask everyone, favorite road trip snack?
Oh, okay. And this is the thing I only find at the airports. Well, then you can find them, and I don't know the actual name of them. Oh, it's like these nuts that are like, again, much like the what is it,
The funnel
the
cake.
funnel cake. They are coated with like like a buttery, sugary kind of substance.
Mm-hmm.
Totally not healthy at all. You know, one bag is like 8,000 calories. But I love those, and I am a sucker if I check into like a hotel, you know, the Doritos, or what are the orange things that leave your hands
Oh,
all red?
Cheetos.
Cheetos. I will just I have to have a bag of Cheetos. Then afterwards, you know, the hotel like towels are the word white, now they're orange. You know, it's just like, yeah. But that would be the thing that I snack on when I travel.
Excellent. What is your next planned trip? For fun,
Uh
not for work.
okay, yeah, no, there you go. So I was supposed to go to Disney for their marathon weekend, but
Okay.
Leroy's not prepped for that because I haven't run in 2 months, and it's a 10K, and I got sick in like October. So I just kind of said, you know what? I'm going to push back. So the next one actually is Montgomery for a 5K. So
Okay.
Montgomery, Alabama, because I'm trying to check off a race in all 50 states.
Oh, okay.
But my next amusement park thing was going to be in a week, but now it's going to be in May. And
Okay.
it's kind of like one of those things where I pushed it back because I was just not prepped. But hopefully Tron will be open,
Mm-hmm.
or at least there'll be a sign for Tron. And I still need to catch up with a couple of Universal rides that they added in that I haven't gotten to yet. And it's almost like a year ago when I was in Disney, or Orlando, we should say Orlando, I caught COVID. So it's
Uh-oh,
like one of
fun.
those, yeah, it's one of those, yaha moments where it's like, I went back to Orlando in May and I didn't get COVID. So, that's my goal is, yeah, parks in May. Then I have a race coming up in March here in Montgomery, Alabama.
Very cool. What is your dream trip? Like bucket list
Ooh,
trip?
well, let's see here. Well,
And it
I
does not
have
have to be themed. It can be
oh yeah,
any trip. Yeah.
it's so, like amusement parks. I've actually been to like 53 different countries. So I've traveled quite a bit, and I've been very fortunate and blessed to be able to do that. But I do have some things coming up. The elusive one is Israel. I want to go to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's due to COVID and whatnot. It's been pushed around for a couple of years. So I'm hoping to get that done in the next year. But I would say my plan is to go to Egypt this summer. So I'd like to
Nice.
do that and explore maybe, and it's just more than one I'm giving you, more of Africa, because I've been to Europe, I've been to Asia,
Okay.
and my cousin and I, this past year, we went to South Africa. So we're trying to kind of like immerse ourselves and figure out, finding more about Africa. Maybe it's also part like finding roots too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, that's a continent, not necessarily a specific country, but kind of like learning about the culture and whatnot that we haven't been able to. So yeah, that's
Very
also
cool. Do you have a favorite trip you've taken so far?
repeat places. Well, I would say my my favorite, probably the place I've gone most often that I really enjoyed is kind of like Orlando, because I can get my thrill on all
Mm-hmm.
times of the year. But internationally, London's an easy one because the language is common and it's just easy to get around. Yeah, there are so many places on the land, and it's just sitting back now, coming back from Cape Town.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was just an incredible place. Just the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. It's incredible for sure.
Do you have any favorite travel tip you can share?
Be calm, because you just never know what's going to happen. Especially this week with an unmentioned
Oh,
airline.
yeah.
Yeah, but the favorite travel to, yeah. If you're new to a place, there's always something. One of my friends that I went to school with, we always do the hop on, hop off bus wherever you go, because
Yes.
it gives you a great intro. One, you can actually use it to get around and see things, but it kind of gives you an overall intro of what that city's like that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go back and figure out what you really want to do. But at least do one lap on that, and you figure out, okay, this is what the city is. These are the highlights, and then go do your day.
Yeah.
And also, one other thing, have a day that's just yours. Where you're not having to have to tour. You don't feel pressure in doing anything. You get up when you want to. And like I just got back. I did a little cruise, and I had the guys' day where I did a tour of the ship. I got
cool.
a shave on the ship. I got a tattoo on the ship.
Oh,
it was just me. Yeah, it was just like incredible. So hop on, hop off, and just one calm day, because you're going to need to recover at some point.
Right. That's a good one. I'm gonna try to build in Mom Day.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a whole family day where it's just like, all right, people, do what we need to do.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, we go pretty hard on a lot of our trips.
Well,
I'm
when you get back,
exhausted.
do you find you need to relax when you get back or take time off?
Oh, I'm exhausted. Like I need another vacation from our vacations. It's yeah, so I'm gonna try to build in that day of rest on vacation, so I
There you
can
go.
survive it. Last question. Who is on your travel playlist?
Oh, music wise?
Well, you can be music, as audiobook,
Oh,
podcast, whatever you like to listen to when you're either on the road or in a plane or
I have to actually bring it up here. Well, you know what? For a while, what I was doing was like, before he retired, and I can't believe he retired, Trevor Noah,
Mhm.
he had a podcast. So I will always listen to that while I'm traveling or running or doing something like that. I will sadly some foodie kind of podcast as well. I used to do a lot of political, and then it just kind of wore me out. But now it's kind of like between like food related stuff. I have one or two travel things, but things that are more lighthearted.
Mhm.
Then of course, if you see me and I'm not responding, it's probably because the 80s music's playing in my ears and I'm in like 1984 again. Okay. so it's either going to be music from the 80s, 90s or whatnot. To podcasts like Trevor's or or a food related thing. So yeah.
Very cool. I love that. Leroy, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm going to try to find a middle seat on a roller coaster and give it another go.
Oh, there you go. Yes, definitely. Middle row, middle of the train, you'll be fine. It's been a blast.
Thanks.
Thanks again to Leroy for geeking out with me on this one. It's always fun to talk to others that share your enthusiasm for theme parks. And thank you for listening. I hope these episodes inspire you to get out there and roam, even in your own neighborhood. Please subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you like what we're doing here, please leave a review and rating. Also, to help support us, please head over to yeti2shop.com to pick up some Roaming Yeti merch. Talk to you soon, and keep roaming.